Welcome, everybody. We're really excited today to talk to you about how true customer listening really leads to better MLS operations, more customer loyalty, and we've got two with us that have been participating for some time. We're going to talk about in a second. So we wanted to welcome Les Sulgrove and Shaner. I'm sorry, am I going to say your name backward? Say your last name so I don't slaughter it. Magalis?
Magalhães.
Oh, I'm so glad you said that. I would have definitely said that wrong. Sorry.
That was pretty
So,
close.
yeah, Les is the director of No Coast MLS, a relatively newly formed regional MLS in Iowa. And Shane is the board president of No Coast. And I thought it would be, they've had some really interesting experiences with the Customer Experience Index and with their MLS overall. So I thought they'd be a great group for us to talk to today. So welcome, everybody. Thank you so much for coming. I really appreciate your time today.
Glad to be here.
Yeah, so for those that don't know, a lot of times when I talk about WAV Group, people think it's just me because I'm the one that is the big mouth and out there all the time. So I wanted you guys to just quickly understand what WAV Group is. It's a lot more than just us, just me, because a lot of you only see me. So we've been at this for 25 plus years. We're really the oldest, and I would argue the most well-respected, based on surveys we've gotten, consulting firm out there. And we do everything from executive placement, compensation analysis, web design, research, executive, strategic planning, MLS valuations, all kinds of fun stuff today, right? And of course, what we're doing today, the Customer Experience Index. And we operate not only in the MLS space in the US, but we really operate globally, and we try to bring all of the sort of parts of the ecosystem together when we're advising MLSs about the best way for them to serve their customers and the customers of their customers. And our team is always growing. I'm super excited to tell you we've got an incredible group of super smart, passionate, diverse, skilled group, right? So we've got people that are expert in AI. We've got people expert in public relations and communications, in business technology, in video production. We've got one team that we'll talk a little bit about later that does a lot with M&A and MLS valuations, marketing, you name it. We kind of cover it all. And then, of course, I think you guys know the kind of things that I focus on. But, I'm the immediate past chair of the National Small Business Association, which has given me great perspective on the federal government and how it thinks about all of us as small business owners. Currently founder and CEO of WAVE Group, president of RE Technology, and a bunch of other stuff that keeps me busy all day long. And just wanted to give you some, examples of things. So we do a ton of stuff with market research. You probably get our research if you're on the call. If you don't, just drop your email in at Marilyn@WAVE Group, and we'll make sure that you get that. We're also been done a ton of stuff lately on Open MLS. For those states that don't have to worry about this, good for you. But there's a lot that are really, struggling with what decision to make and how to do it the right way and things like that. So I've been on the road online and on the road talking to many different markets about this and helping people try to make a very sound decision about how to handle that. And as I mentioned, we really are the most experienced valuations company, and with that, the MLS valuations company in the industry. We have George Slusser and Finley Hare. Number one, George and with my partner Victor wrote the second book about mergers and acquisitions called Acquiring More Profit. And it's basically a DIY guide about how to buy and sell companies, which is very helpful for MLSs that may now be starting to think about that. But he in his tenure, George has done over 2,500 real estate company valuations, and he's bought and sold over 1,200 companies. And he's bought and sold companies worth well over almost $2 billion. So he has seen it all, done it all, been there, got the trophy, got lots of trophies. And we've kept him very busy in the last couple of months. He's done over 50 MLS valuations. And we're now starting to see the next generation where people are actually starting to think about whether they should buy, sell a portion, merge, all these things. So he's in the middle of working with companies on how to make all of those kinds of financial programs work. It's a lot more complicated than we think, right? And it's really good to have someone at our side that understands how to do this and has done it many times and has many different options, many different approaches as to the best way to get that done. So if anybody's looking at that, let us know. We'll happy to connect you to George. He's the guy. And I think many of you know, many of you actually are our clients on this, but we've been facilitating strategic plans for 25 plus years. And I'm proud to say we work with absolutely some of the best organizations out there who are really thoughtful, insightful, really thinking about how do I make a meaningful difference in how I approach my MLS business. And I have a blast. It's absolutely one of my favorite things to do. So bring me in. I'd love to help you. Um, and just so you know who I am, like why not only do I love to do it, but I actually did this for a living. I was the former senior VP of strategic planning for a Fortune 500 company. And I also identified and launched new businesses beyond their core business. I got them $80 million in 8 months. I've worked with lots of venture capitalists, lots of brokerages on this. So I'm a very deep corporate strategic planner. So for those that are thinking about their companies as trying to take them and make them more of true business entities, I've got a depth there that you're not going to see really from any other strategic planner out there. So come on in, we'd love to work with you. And then I think that probably the most important thing is that there's all kinds of things called strategic plans, but the ones that really matter are the ones that truly create action items, that create complete transparency to the boards of directors, and that really measure what real progress is, right? It's one thing to have a pretty poster and 4 pillars and you hang it on the wall and nothing ever changes or nothing happens to it. There's a different one where you're rolling up your sleeves, you're looking at things, you're checking it, monitoring it. It becomes the center of really how the board of directors works closely to provide oversight to the leadership. So that's, we bring it like it's a corporate, like you're going to have to make the quarter, right? The same kind of way that corporations look at it. Many MLSs I know are moving in that direction. So yeah, so with all of that, I'm gonna exit the screen for a minute because I want to see those new shirts that we want to show off and talk more specifically to. Um, Let me stop the share. There we go. Oh, now see you can see them. They just got their new shirts. Don't they look awesome?
It's close to the first day of school, you know.
Right? Exactly. It's early September. It's not even September. Close enough. Anyway, so it would be great, and maybe Les will kick it off with you. Tell people more about No Coast, how you got formed, how it's coming together. Just give us an update on who you are, how big you are, all that kind of good stuff.
So, No Coast, effectively, our MLS has really been around. We say we're kind of new, but yet we've been around for about 15 years or so, owned by the Iowa Association of Realtors. And in the early days, or about that time when we were getting started, there were a lot of mergers of local boards around our state. And what we did was we looked at the rural population of our state and said, who can we service with an MLS? Because some of these boards were very, very small. And so we put we're currently about almost 1,300 agents right now across the state. And that went on under Rapatoni MLS for about probably 9, 10 years. And then back in 2022, we switched over to Paragon MLS. And then in the fall or summer of 2022 is when we officially branded No Coast MLS and basically set it up as its own separate corporate entity from the Iowa Association of Realtors. So that's when No Coast came out. So that's where we're kind of relatively new, at least in the name. I was hired at the end of 2022 and basically said, here you go, run an MLS. So here I am. So,
Well, welcome. You're doing a great job. So, you've used the customer experience index survey, I think, pretty much since that time, right? Since I think you started in 22, 23.
absolutely. Yeah.
And how has it helped you? Like, what have you learned from it? How has it helped you so far?
Well, Marilyn, you remember that first survey we did. Yes, we've done it every year. And I tend to be someone who has a fairly positive outlook on things. And that day that we met and went over the very first survey from the first year, you flat out just told me, he says, Les, I got good news for you. We only have one way to go, and that's up. And you know what? I didn't get discouraged on that. We looked at the results, and I wasn't surprised because up until that point, even though we had an MLS, we really didn't have anybody in position that was maintaining, rules or answering questions or providing training and things like that. And so I'm actually kind of surprised we got such a good rating, really, at that point in time. So that was the first year, and I realized right then, based on what I was seeing from that survey, this and not, I sold real estate for 32 years prior to that in the Des Moines market, and coming into a market I wasn't familiar with, and an MLS I wasn't familiar with, and agents I wasn't familiar with, I used that WAV Group survey as my roadmap I said, this is really good. This tells me where I need to start to head. And so that's kind of how we started that.
Gotcha. And Shane, yeah, go ahead, Shane, jump in.
I think the way Les described that beginning time period with No Coast and the initial survey was we were dealing with the wild, wild west, right? As he mentioned, we didn't really have any enforcement of rules. There was no consistency in rules and policies and fines or anything like that. So I think those of us that saw the results of that survey knew immediately, like, well, that's no reflection on Les. I mean, that's a reflection on where we've been before we put No Coast in place and hired him. So, you know, as Les said, he was new to running this new organization. Everybody on the board was new to running the organization. So it was absolutely critical to have at least some, you know, sort of roadmap for, okay, what do we need to concentrate on? So that was a no-brainer that we did that and really helped us, you know, hit the ground running.
Well, yeah, you kind of treated it like a baseline, and that's actually a great thing for anyone that hasn't done a survey at all or hasn't done one in many years. It's kind of because if you think about how much has changed in real estate and how much has changed in MLSs in the last several years, a lot, right? So treating that as a baseline and having the you take a breath, right? And Shaner, I appreciate that you guys kept going with it because sometimes if someone gets negative feedback, they're like, oh, we don't want to listen to this anymore. Let's just cancel it. It must be the survey's fault. So I appreciate that you guys stood with it. So, you know, with that, like when you saw the feedback, because yeah, it wasn't as positive as you would have liked. The story ends well, little precursor for you guys. The story ends well, but what kind of what did you do differently based on what you saw in the feedback? Were there specific things that you looked at and said, "Hey, let's try something different"?
Well, yeah, the first thing was I really felt like um, I really needed to make some relationships with these agents and these brokers around the state. 47 counties out of 99 in the state, as Shaner jokes that I keep saying just over half. Well, I don't know math apparently, just under half of all the counties. And there are all over the state. I mean, it would take me a day to drive to every county that I have, or more probably. And we looked first at the basic, you know, got to build that relationship first based on that first survey. Immediately, we have to establish trust because if they don't trust you and they don't, you know, if they think you're just in there to tell them what to do, they're not going to do it. Um, and then and only then can you really start to focus on customer service. And that's where we really focused on the first 2 years and continue to focus on primarily as customer service and then training and things like that. So
Gotcha. And Shaner, how did that feedback help you guys as the board? Did it help you with your strategic focus, or did you look at that and then be you know in agreement with Les about where to go, or how did you guys use it?
Well, again, I don't recall being super surprised by the results. Again, we knew that there hadn't been any structure beforehand, so I don't think anybody on the board was ready to, you know, take up pitchforks and tar and feather or anything like that. We knew that we were essentially starting from scratch, and like I said, I mean the survey results helped provide some guidance for that. To be honest, I think the first year, and Les can attest to this, almost every board meeting was really just, you know, going through things like bylaws and rules and policies and, you know, just the nitty gritty of running an MLS. You know, just it was quite honestly very tedious work, but obviously needed to be done. So you know, I think in terms of, you know, what the survey has been telling us, probably the 24 and 25 results are a lot more informative as far as taking us from here and improving, because we kind of have now our feet on the ground and a solid, you know, standing. So that's you know, like we met with you guys not too long ago to kind of go over the summary of the survey results from 25 and so forth, and really highlight, okay, what do we need to focus on from here? So maybe that's getting a little ahead of ourselves.
Well, that's okay. So one of the components of the survey, and we'll give you the details for those that are familiar with it in a minute, but one of the things that we really like doing is because a lot of times if you do a survey just in your own market, you get a grade, you get an 87. Is that a good grade or is that a bad grade? Well, if everyone else gets a 98, maybe it's not so great. If everyone else gets a 65, then you're killing it, right? Kind of like the mean we used to, or the averages we used to have when we were in college. So today you can anonymously compare where you sit on these 7 different performance indicators, which we'll talk about, and then see how you sit. So as a board and as a CEO, does that help you to kind of get some perspective beyond your market, or how do you guys apply that?
Well, again, me being new to this position and really 3 years in, I still feel like I'm the new guy in, because I'm always learning and trying to improve. But to just get me a baseline of are we improving compared to the rest of the people that are in these surveys, these different boards and across the nation, and that's what makes me feel better is yeah, maybe we didn't do as well that second year as I wanted to, but overall we made improvements on some areas. It really wasn't until this year that we finally, I think, hit our stride, and I'm hoping that we're just going to go up, 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 and from here. So
Yeah, yeah, it does. I'm glad to hear that it helps give you some perspective because you don't really know if you're only looking at your own market. And many of the people on the board maybe have only lived in one market or served in one market, and they don't really understand the bigger context too. So that can be super helpful. Did you find that,
Well,
Shane?
yeah, the thing I would say is, within the different categories that are part of the survey, having that comparison of the industry average results compared to what we're seeing is very helpful. For example, when I first looked at, well, for every year, but including this year, the business generation category of the survey was a
Mhm.
54 for us, which on the survey is like, oh wow, that's not very good. But then
Right.
you look over to the side and the industry average is 53. So I mean the reality then you realize is that most MLS subscribers, that's not a priority for them. So to be at 54 is fine. It's not a failing grade. So yeah, that is absolutely critical for us to be able to have that perspective.
Yeah, that's one of the things I love about it is we get to see when you normalize things, you can see patterns across the country of things that, like there's a clear correlation between the quality of your customer service and the overall satisfaction of the MLS. At the end of the day, an agent has a problem, they need you to get in, get it fixed, and get out, right? And so that is, if there's one thing that any MLS should focus on, it'd be number one is service, and second is training, because those two connect as well, right? The more you teach people how to take advantage of all the amazing stuff that MLSs offer, the more they appreciate the company. So it's really good, and I'm glad to see that that's helped you. And interestingly, you're probably mid-tier because there's some that are really small and then there's some that are really large, right? So at 1300, you're kind of in the middle range there. Do you feel like this is helpful for any size MLS? Does it matter the size or how many people that are participating?
no, it absolutely helps. It matters. I mean, it's you've got to have the mindset that you're out there to help all your agents and all your brokers, regardless whether you're a small association or a small MLS or a large one. It just gets a little harder at the larger you get, but I still believe that we only have one way to go, and that's up, even as we're continuing to improve.
Well, and I would say, I mean,
Yeah.
I imagine people might have the mindset, oh, I'm part of an MLS that is only, I don't know, make up a number, 200 people, 200 subscribers. So we have a good feeling of what our subscribers' needs are and their concerns and so forth. But you really don't. I mean, unless you're actually talking to every single one of them, you don't know what their issues are, what their concerns are, other than maybe the people that call and complain or have a problem with their computer and have to turn it off and back on again or whatever. But I think to your question, Marilyn, I would think any size MLS needs to have that kind of information in order to make decisions and not just assume they know what their subscribers are thinking, because you don't.
Yeah, we did a survey right after the settlement last year and asked people, do you believe your MLS is less valuable without compensation? And 43% of them said yes. Now, I don't actually believe that's a real number in the long run. I think there was a bit of I'm mad at the settlement factor in that number. But the truth is, we did lose a good part of our value proposition, right? So you got to really lean in on the other things, which there's many. I mean, I'm not worried at all between data quality and amazing training and preparedness and support and technology. There's a lot of other things we do. But it is something to recognize that we did lose a chunk of the cooperation and compensation. We lost half of that, right? So we got to think about it. Okay, so I'm gonna, if you guys are okay, I'm gonna spill the beans that these guys, they're being very humble about, they grinded, they were grinding for 2 years. Like they definitely improved second year, not as much as Les said as he would have liked, and frankly, not as much as I would have liked, because I always like to deliver good news when I know you guys are working so hard. But year three, dun, da, 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 it all came together, right? So we have not announced our best MLS awards yet, because we're still pulling in surveys from other markets. But I'm very confident that you guys you have cracked the code. So for any market that's worried that maybe you've had some upset for whatever reason, and there can be so many of them these days, when you stick to your guns and you put your head down and you do the work, you can really make a difference. So, and one thing that was very interesting, so the best MLS awards are there's 7 different key performance indicators, and if you meet or exceed the averages, you're awarded one of those. So it can be for technology, training, data quality, et cetera, right? Last year, we saw just about every market took a dip. And of course, nobody wanted to take a dip, but we all know why. The market was imploding. Right? We had some major issues going on, not to mention the economic factors, but then the settlement and the drama, and are we all going to go out of business? I mean, there was so much going on, right? But what was really helpful, I think, and I'd love to get your perspective on this, was a lot of markets, if you had done that survey all on your own, you would have thought, oh my gosh, what happened, right? Are our customers not liking us as much? So as much as none of us wanted to see a decline, there was some strength in numbers of saying, okay, you're not the only one. Every market has suffered for all those different reasons. And they weren't major declines. There was just a bit here and there. It wasn't terrible, but there was a bit of one. So I think people, not that anybody was happy, but they breathed a little bit of a sigh of relief that, okay, it's not me, right? I can say this is happening across the country. So did you guys have any of that did you feel any comfort in that everybody was having a tough year?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you think about last year, I'm surprised agents, even focused on anything other than the settlement stuff. And honestly, the ones that did are probably this year having some of their best years, and those that didn't are wondering where'd the bus go. Um, and if I was going to take that same path with the MLS, then we'd probably still be at those same levels, because why should I work on customer service when nobody's happy or everybody's distracted? So we just kept pushing and kept pushing.
Mm-hmm. That's great. Yeah, it was a tough year. And this year's not, I don't think business wise is a whole lot better, but at least we don't have all of that stuff hanging over our heads. We got other kinds of more manageable issues to deal with. So you guys mentioned this, and I think it bears repeating because we hear this, right? So, and I think this is human nature. I think we all feel this way. Like, I really want to know what my customer thinks about me, but what if they don't like me? Right? What if they don't say good things? What if I totally miss something that I thought I was doing for them, that I thought was helping them, and they don't like me, and it gets real personal real quick, right? We feel this in our own businesses, we feel this in our own brokerages, and I'm sure less at some level you're like, oh, I felt that too. So what's your advice for an MLS that might just have that fear factor? I mean, it's a fear factor. And I can tell you, by the way, just for those that don't know, most MLSs are doing phenomenal jobs and the scores are incredible, right? They're doing really well. And what I find is the more humble and the more the CEOs that are harder on themselves and think, oh, geez, what else can I do? Like, oh, what am I missing? Like, they're very worried about being good about customer service. I usually the ones that are the best, right? It's the ones like, I got this. The ones that are sort of complacent that struggle more, right? So you don't really have to worry because most of these come out really strong. But if somebody's worried about that, they're just like, oh, I don't know. Maybe it's better if I don't know. What will my board fire me if the numbers aren't where they want them to be? Or all the just personal fears. We all have those insecurities, right? What would you say to a group that's like, oh, I don't know. What happens if I don't like what I hear? What would you say to that?
Well,
Go ahead, Les. Maybe you can
Go ahead,
answer that
Shaner.
change.
What do you think, Shaner?
Well,
Yeah.
I will say again, as from the perspective of a board member, even now, 3 years later, obviously we're delighted with the results of our most recent survey. But if they weren't at the level they're at, I don't think anybody would be saying, "Oh my gosh, Les, you're really dropping the ball here. You're not doing your job. We're not doing our job as a board." It would be, okay, there are issues that we need to address. We thought we are on a positive trajectory, but maybe we're not. Maybe there are some things that we still need to improve. So I don't think you should be afraid of criticism, because that's going to make you better at the end of the day.
Okay, Les?
Um, my philosophy is to lean in a little harder and ask the questions that most people don't want to ask. I mean, I host a twice a month Zoom drop-in session, just 1 hour twice a month, and I allow agents to come in and they can ask questions about the MLS. They can vent. They can tell me what they like, what they don't like. Sometimes we just have a conversation about the market. But I always try to work in this particular question, and that is, what is the biggest pain point that you experience today using your MLS? Is it the platform? Is it the rules, the showing, stuff like that? And just the fact that I'm willing to let them vent, and then I take that information and try to turn that into something positive. I mean, right now, we're in the midst of considering a platform change for our MLS system. Well, nobody likes change. Nobody in the world likes change. And one way to make realtors mad at you is say, hey, we're just going to change MLSs and you're not going to be a part of the decision. We're just going to make the best one that you can, our decision that we can make. I've taken the philosophy of, number one, asking for the last year, what are your pain points? And based on that, we're going to let agents see demonstrations of these different MLSs that we would, potentially consider, and let them have some input. Now, will they make the decision ultimately? It's going to be from our board, but with a lot of input from our membership. So if you can take them along on the ride, it's going to make those of them that are not wanting to make change, at least feel like they had to say and they had a, part of the process. So
That's awesome. And when you, that's a really good, I love that question. We should put that in the survey, actually. It's a really good question. I think we'll put that in for 26. But when you think about and I'd love to hear your perspective on the Shaner too. What do you think is I know you've done a lot of different things, but can you point to one thing that you're like, I'm really proud that we did that, and that really did sort of set us down going on the right road? Is there like a moment or a program or a thought that changed things that you think have really helped you guys improve over time?
Well, I guess I'm gonna, Les mentioned this earlier, but for me, having done something similar myself, I was state president for the Iowa Association of Realtors last year, and we went out to every single local association to meet in person to talk about the settlement and the buyer agreement and all this stuff. And that had a huge impact. And I think similarly, and I would assume Les would agree with this, that's been one of the biggest pieces of making No Coast effective, is that Les has been out there in the state meeting in person with the local association folks, the subscribers in their turf and so forth. And as you said, it's a huge area to cover, but that's even in today's technology world, I still maintain that nothing beats in person. That you really show that you think they matter, you care about what they have to say, and you're going to get the best interaction when you're right there meeting with them. And that's what we saw last year when we toured the state. I'm sure that's what Les sees. Maybe sometimes he feels like he gets ambushed when he goes out there, but he's a big boy and he can handle it.
Yeah, we're not curing cancer. We're still fixing business issues that are fixable. So that's great. All right. Well, this has been great. So any other words of advice or suggestions that you guys have to MLSs that are on the call about, why a program like this helped you, or anything else that you want to add?
I would say basically it's all communication and outreach. My phone rings a lot, but if I get a phone call that I've missed, I don't just wait for them to try to call back. I call them back. I say, I'm sorry, I missed your call. can I help you with something? And I think that goes a long way to building that trust and that relationships that we're all in favor of and that what we need to do. So, um, MLS rules were not popular, but whenever someone does, I'm basically a one-person shop for the most part. I mean, um, somebody has an MLS violation question or an issue, somebody turns in a violation, I'm the one that has to look at it, research it, and then contact the agent and explain to them, why this is a violation. Most of the time, in fact, all of the time, I've not had a second repeat violation from those agents that I've talked to. So I give them that opportunity to learn. And just yesterday, I had 2 phone calls, which tells me that this is working very, very well. 2 agents called me saying, "Hey, before I get in trouble, I have a question."
Awesome.
Geez, that's so much easier than, let me walk you off the ledge, as opposed to pull you out of the gutter, to fix things. So, yeah.
So one thing I did want to ask you, Les, because as any of you are, WAV Group followers, we do all kinds of stuff. We're always talking, writing, publishing, doing something. And we do a lot of these sort of online sessions. And Les, I don't think you've missed one since I've met you. You are on these things all the time, which I love, of course. But we have these things as part of this program, as you know, called the mastermind groups. And those groups are designed for only those that participate in the program. And we bring trends that we're seeing from the data to share with everyone. So again, you're not alone, or to bring new insights of things maybe none of us have thought about. But then we also allow everyone on the call to just share best practices. Tell me how you like those things, because you seem to come to every one of them.
Um, well, again, I'm trying to learn and see what else everybody else is doing. I've kind of I go to a RESO conference in the spring every year. That gets me in face to face with a lot of people that you wouldn't get at NAR conference or CMLS. I go to CMLS because I look at that as, the Disneyland of MLS providers. And I tend to meet some of the same people and we build those relationships. The first year, I think I sat down at a RESO conference across the table from someone at lunch. I didn't know anybody and they just had their name tag on. I says, "Okay, and what is your name?" They gave me their name and I says, "Okay, and where do you work?" And they told me and I says, "Well, what's your role at that company?" Just thinking it's another MLS person. It was the president of Flex MLS. And, I mean, he was a real person. He could have just walked away and go, "You moron, I'm somebody you should know." Well, I felt bad, but, you know, we built a, connection there. So I don't care how the connection's made. If I embarrass myself at the beginning, at least I'm, not sitting in the corner waiting, so.
And have you enjoyed the mastermind session specifically? Because I know you do a lot of.
Absolutely. Yes. Sorry, I went off on a tangent. Yeah, the mastermind series, they bring me ideas and things to research out. We've added additional products to the MLS, a lot of them kind of based on what else everybody else is using in the masterminds, especially when you get into the subject of AI and things like that. I'm real anxious I love technology. That's kind of my bailiwick. So.
Yeah, I come away from those with about 10 pages of notes,
Mhm.
because
Mhm.
no one company has it all figured out. It's just always so much fun. I really enjoy those. So, okay, great. Anything else you'd like to share, Shane, or any closing thoughts? And I'm going to jump in and I'll show you people what the folks on the call, what the session or what the program actually includes.
Yeah, I guess I would just mention that from, again, a board member perspective, I feel like even though, every year we've done the survey, we've talked about it at board meetings and stuff, but I'd really like to see us really get the board members more engaged in what those survey results really mean and
Mhm.
help us help less define, okay, what should be prioritized. For example, I mean, we have not, to my knowledge or recollection, even talked about doing an official strategic plan for No Coast MLS, which we really should do. I mean, right now
Mhm.
we've really been leaning on Les to lead us, which is great, and he's done an amazing job. But I feel like the board needs to kind of step up too and provide more of that big picture sort of input that I would assume would be helpful, hopefully. Or if it's not, Les can just say, "Thanks for your input," and I'm going to ignore everything you just said.
I doubt he would do that. Yeah, that's actually interesting you brought that up, because many people do the survey as a precursor to a strategic plan, because it gives you an in-depth look. In addition to broker surveys, top producer surveys, team leader surveys, we kind of do a 360-degree look. And that really creates a great base for a conversation about all the great things we've already done and how we can feel good about those, but what are the things we need to focus on moving forward. So that's a great point. Yeah, I'd love to do one with you, Shaner. All right, so let me just take us back real quick. I just want to give you, any of those that are not familiar with the program, a quick update on what it is. And then we'll let you go. And if anybody has any questions for Shaner or for Les or for myself, feel free to throw them into the chat. So this is a program that, again, we've been doing for 3 years now. And I think today's a good example where when you listen and respond to what your customers are asking for, it really can improve satisfaction and engagement. We've had other markets, like, for example, one that was doing really well, except in the area of training. And they took that to heart, hired some folks, created a new curriculum, and boy, they really took off, right? We've been doing research for about 25 years in the MLS space for a long, long time. But I love this program because I get to share with each other, right? Not in specific markets, right? But from an anonymous perspective, it gives all of us a much broader look at the entire market, and those benchmarks really make a big difference. So I've loved being able to finally share what I've learned with so many of you. And as we talked about, there's 7 key performance indicators that we monitor, and those are the things that we anonymously allow you to see: customer support, responsiveness, technology. You can see all the others on there, right? So we look at each one of those, and again, provide specific recommendations. It's one of the things that, consulting firm, we've launched MLSs, we've run MLSs, we obviously consult with lots of MLSs, and so we try to bring you very practical, achievable, affordable solutions. We're not going to say, oh yeah, if you spend $5 million more, you could do this, right? We know MLSs don't have that kind of capital, so we bring a lot of very tactical but important things that can really move the needle down the road. And as we talked about, I love these. These are so fun, right? If any of you ever seen, like, US News does these, where you have like the best oncology department kind of thing, same kind of concept here, right? So when you meet or exceed any one of the averages relative to your peers in the marketplace, you will be awarded these. And people put them on their email signatures, they send out press releases, they put them on their LinkedIn. It's a lot of fun. It's a great way for people to celebrate the hard work that's been done. It's also great for the staff, who frankly mostly only hears the complaints, right? People don't just call proactively and say, hey, I just wanted to call you today and tell you you're just an amazing MLS. Thank you so much. Nobody does that, right? So this is a nice way to celebrate that when you get this kind of information. And with that, we arm you with all kinds of ways, press releases and all kinds of stuff that you can celebrate your individual results within your market. We don't do anything that ranks MLSs against one another, because we frankly don't think that's what this is about. This is about raising everybody's performance and helping everyone be better in their local market. But it's super fun to celebrate nonetheless. So yeah, I mean, the survey covers really awareness of the things you do, the engagement of the tools that you do, not just tools, but all of your programs, right? And the satisfaction. Sometimes we will ask industry-wide questions of certain things, like, our brokers looking for this or that, or our agents looking for this or that, which again gives us that nationwide trend. Like, for example, we asked a question about how many of the survey respondents participated in more than one MLS, and we found out nationwide it was 42%. So we got a lot of overlapping market disorder we got to fix out there. And then we talked briefly about the masterminds. This is absolutely one of my favorite things, because there's so many smart, passionate people that run MLSs. And we seem to get lots of them that participate in this program, the ones that are really thoughtful about it. So we get to show them trends. They get to tell us great stuff. And again, everybody's writing copious notes because there's lots of good ideas all around the industry. So that's the program in a nutshell. It's super simple for you as a MLS. You provide us with, we provide you with the questions. You just look at those and see if there's anything that you want to add or tweak a little bit, other than those 7 KPI questions that stay the same. And then we do all the work to field it. We provide all the reports. These guys know will provide it at the early level, and we actually provide it twice, because we provide it with just your market results, and then we provide it again once we have the benchmarks across all of the markets. So you get really 2 hits at it, which is really fun. So yeah, we'd love to have more of you in it. A program like this really is a network, right? So the more markets we have in it, the more diverse sizes, geographies, business models, all of that, the more we get, the becomes for everyone, right? So 1+1 = 3 kind of thing. So and it is I believe an affordable program based on what we've heard from others. Many people have just budgeted it in year after year. Many have done 3-year programs like Les has done to make sure they're tracking progress over time. So we'd love to have you all in it. You just let us know how we can help. And if you are interested, if you just click that the QR code there, that'll take you to a form. Feel free to fill that out and we'll get right back to you, tell you more about it, and answer any questions. If you need to us to present this to your board of directors because they can understand the scope of what they're agreeing to. We're happy to do that too. We're also happy to do what Shaner said, which we have done with staffs and with boards, where we'll go through the recommendations and the results and then brainstorm, right? Well, what can we do about that, right? So the end of the day, what I get excited about is I want to help you guys be better. That's the bottom line, right? And whatever it takes in your particular market to help you get there, we're on deck. You just let us know, and we're there to help you be as positive as you can be. And then to jump up and down when your results improve, like they have so much with these guys. Got to tell you, I'm just so thrilled that you stuck with it and you put your head down and made it work. And hey, I was better off because of it. So good stuff. All right. Well, thank you so much, Shaner. Thank you so much, Les. I really appreciate it. Again, if anybody has any questions, you can reach out to me directly or use the QR code, and we'll get you all hooked up and get you moving with us. Thank you so much, everybody. Have a great day.
Thank you.